Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Power Women Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Hello and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. I am delighted today to be joined in the studio by the Bentley Motors massive. Harry and Aimee, welcome to the studio.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Bentley Motors, amazing supporters and partners of We Are Power, and this year supporting the Northern Power Women Awards Power List. It's great to have you in the studio. You've come from afar, haven't you, today?
Kind of.
And not in a Bentley.
Yeah. Not in a Bentley,
Unfortunately not.
No.
Yeah, it was not the fastest route on the trains, was it? But maybe that's another podcast journey, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a question for another day, I think.
And today we're going to talk about sustainability. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about skills. You know, this is really, really important to everyone at the heart of Bentley Motors. So talk to us, Aimee, about the new strategy that's been launched, or should I say adapted? It's the Beyond 100 Plus. And I understand plus is the key word. Can you tell us about what it is and how it is shaping the future of luxury mobility?
So we first launched Beyond 100 back in, I think it was 2020. And that was really about how we become a sustainable company, and we really push forward electric cars. And we went through a recent kind of evolution of it. So not a complete change, because for us, being a sustainable company is still the direction we want to go. But we really questioned, why do we exist as a company? And we went through a really good process where we spoke to different stakeholders. We aligned with all our board members, all our business partners. And we thought about, why did Bentley exist as a company? And for us, we came up with a new purpose statement, which was fundamental to the whole strategy. And it was about being or advancing the boundaries of excellence. So that for us felt like a really strong purpose of why we get out of bed in the morning, what we get excited about. And that's what we want to do in terms of the future of luxury. We really want to advance the boundaries of how we do luxury. So sustainability is a really important part of it. So we still want to create really cool products, but we want to do it in a sustainable way. And it's a core part of our strategy. We want to bring together performance and luxury and do things differently there. And we really want to just change what the future of luxury looks like. So that was a really important factor for us. So yeah, it's a really fundamental question that grounded what the new strategy was.
And how do you balance the luxury and the sustainability together? It seems difficult.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult, but I actually think it's very synergetic, because when you think about a Bentley, those Bentleys are there forever. And that's one of the most important principles of sustainability, not just throwing things away. No one throws away a Bentley. It's a collector's item. It's a really cool, long-lasting, high quality. And you can see that with, one of our core values is craftsmanship. We use the highest kind of quality materials in the cars. And we're now looking at ways to innovate those materials to make them more sustainable. So a really big focus for us at the moment is, how do we make those materials really sustainable? Think about cool ways of doing things with recycled material, but then still have that quality aspect of it. And I think for a luxury company, there's a responsibility of us to invest in sustainability and invest in the future. We know that our customers expect it. Our customers tend to be leaders in this topic as well from a sustainability perspective. So for us, it just makes sense to do two work well together.
And that leads on, that's exciting, isn't it? Because that roadmap that you're setting out, it leads to what you need for the future, and what skills do you need for the future? Bentley has been around a long time. We chatted earlier. Yeah. Your grandfather worked, didn't he? Yeah.
So I found out. I found out during my about 2 minutes before my second interview for this job. My dad announced, "Oh, you did know your grandfather worked at the factory, didn't you?" So, despite that bombshell, about an hour later, after I calmed myself down a little bit, we had a conversation and found out that. So I'm from Essex originally, but my dad's roots were in Staffordshire. And my granddad was a machinist at the factory, but he wasn't building cars. He was actually building the Merlin engine for the Spitfire.
Wow!
And before today, I was talking to my dad about it at the weekend, and he said, "Oh, I found some stuff that you might be interested in." and he found loads of cutlery that my granddad had stolen from the canteen that had Bentley and Rolls-Royce emblems on the bottom of the cutlery.
Acquired, not stolen.
Acquired. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Collector's items,
9/10 of the law.
In our defence, Rolls-Royce and Bentley are two separate companies now.
Yeah.
So,
And that might have been your grandfather's skill, but what are the skills that we need for the future now within automotive, and particularly at Bentley with this ambition around sustainability?
I think the really interesting thing for my role in future skills transformation is that the change from going from an internal combustion engine eventually towards all electric, it's not a small change. It's a complete revolution in the way that we think about cars. And I think it's a reflection of where the whole industry is going. I think for all of us, whether you're buying an electric Bentley or whether you're buying any other electric car, it's completely different to how we would have thought about cars previously. So for us, on the one hand, obviously it's about the drivetrain. It has to be fast. There was a statement from W.A. Bentley when he originally founded the company. A Bentley is a good car, a fast car, the best in its class. So that's the principle that we have to maintain throughout. So when it comes to all electric drivetrains, they have to be special. But also in terms of the equipment that goes behind that. So, for example, we're going from quite a small amount of software that goes into things like the sat nav and things like that. That is increasing exponentially in order to govern the new car. So for us, we're going from a small number of software skills to a huge amount of software ability that's required. In terms of keeping us competitive in the market, we are changing the way that we develop cars. So using virtual vehicle development, which is going to allow us to speed up the development process, bring cars to market faster, but maintain that quality. So unfortunately, all of those like clay models you might have seen previously when you've got designers sculpting it out of clay, those days are largely gone. And what we now have are 3D digital models that we can use to detect clashes. So, is your door going to knock on your knees when you open it? That sort of stuff. We can detect those things straight away. So really for us, skills is completely transformational. By the time we get to that first all-electric product, we'll be a very, very different business in terms of the skills that we have. What's really satisfying is that despite the fact the skills are different, the people will be the same. Mm-hmm. It's an investment in our workforce, and it's an investment in crew and the people that work there, which is really exciting. It means that in 100 years' time, there could be someone else sat on a sofa like this with a story from their grandparents who worked at the factory, and the evolution from that 100 year across that 100 years will still be there.
And it is that evolution, it's that innovation, isn't it? Because you talk about, there's no longer the clay models. There's different ways to do things, and what an exciting time then to encourage individuals and new talent into the business, because it's not what you think automotive is, right? It's so different.
It's so completely different.
Yeah, I'm not a car person, so I just enjoy strategy. And I think working in the automotive industry, there's so much opportunity and things to learn about. It's really cool. So,
yeah, absolutely. I definitely second that. I think. I suppose I've never had an interest in automotive beyond the beautiful things to look
nice
at.
Cars, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a nice car.
But when you start to get stuck into the business and really starting to understand it, I've never worked alongside so many people that have got PhD at the end of their job title, and people that aren't just they're not just great at their job. They really are industry thought leaders and respected across all automotive companies, not just within Bentley or VW Group. It's amazing. It really is.
And that's exciting. I mean, we've been over to the to Crew HQ. It's phenomenal. It's the smell of it, the tradition in it. There's so much to take in. It's phenomenal. It's
changing so much as well. So the whole site is just changing each year. We've got a new paint shop going in at the moment, and it's just amazing to come into site and drive in each day and watch it go up. It's gone up so quickly, hasn't it? And it's a really cool, innovative way of now painting cars and doing this now for our electric cars in the future. So it's just like a signpost of our future. So it's really cool.
And what does that signpost look like the next 5 to 10 years? What does it look like?
So electrification, obviously, that is still the goal. So there has been challenges in the industry with electrification, and we ultimately wanted to go really quickly, going all electric. But we're still doing that. We're still going all electric and setting that future. I think a lot of luxury companies probably aren't moving as quickly as us, but we're now going for this in 2035, which is a kind of key focus area with our first electric car coming in 2026. So that'll be a really exciting new kind of step into the new world, and then doing the rollout going all electric by 2035. So that's really great and really exciting. And as part of that, like we just said, we're investing in crew. So we're committed to building the cars still in crew for the future, which is a really strong signpost to the local industry as well. I think we're spending like 2 billion just to invest in the electric cars. So it's a huge expenditure, but something that we see is transformative for local industry. So that's really great. And then as part of that, decarbonisation, which is very close to my heart, and sustainability, that's top priority as well. And we're doing things not just by shifting to electric cars. We're looking at the whole life cycle of the car and how do we get carbon out of the production, how we make the cars, what types of materials we use, how we transport the cars. We're looking at the whole life cycle of it to really try and be leaders in decarbonisation. So that's a key priority for us. And people's at the heart of the strategy as well. So in Beyond 100 Plus, it's a core pillar. And we look at culture, we look at diversity, equity and inclusion, and we look at how as well and skills transformation. And obviously then it's about making beautiful products. So for us, it's about innovation and doing that in a sustainable way, but also it's about the personalisation. That's what Bentley's known for, and how you deliver beautiful cars that you can customise how you want them to be. So that's our priorities really for next 5 to 10. Got busy 10 years ahead.
You absolutely have, and sustainability is key. And,
yeah.
And why is sustainability become? It feels like it's more the leadership side is becoming increasingly female.
Yeah, which is exciting to
Hurrah.
see. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, I mean, I spotted it. So I came into my role about 1.5 years ago, and seeing lots of posts on LinkedIn and people that are in the industry, I was like, there's a lot of women that are leading sustainability, and that was really motivating to see. And then I looked into it more, and there was a study that was done, I think, by GreenBiz that showed, I think 58% of chief sustainability officers are women. Compared to CFOs, I think 17% of CFOs are women, and then 10% of CEOs are women. So it just shows like there's a lot of opportunity for women. And I think it's because I think some of the skill sets really suit a chief sustainability officer. You know, you have to be very collaborative, you have to be long-term thinking. And I think looking at behavioural science, women tend to be that kind of focus, particularly in their personal life and their work life. They tend to think about risks. They want to work with people. They are compassionate and think about a bigger picture. So yeah, I think that's quite motivating, and it's a good way to see how you can develop your career working in sustainability.
I want to see some of that 58% nominated in next year's Northern Power Women Awards,
definitely,
please. That would be amazing. Because it's the role modelling of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we talk about you've got to see it to be it.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a phenomenal statistic that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And I think that's a surprising stat for me. What's the one surprising skill for you, Harry? Because I know this is your area, isn't it? Or mindset mindset shift, that's easy for me to say, that's become essential in this whole adventure now and phase of Bentley.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing for me is when I first took the job, I thought, well, do you know what? It's going to be all about the drivetrain. It's all going to be about the electric motor. And actually the reality of that has become that the business have already, essentially the battery technology, we've already been thinking about that for a few years, because we've had hybrid models for quite some time. Before my arrival, the development on the V8 plug-in hybrid was largely done. So actually it's quite a short step from plug-in hybrid to all electric in terms of the technology. What has just been a complete revolution in my mindset has been that software at the heart of the vehicle, and the role of that. You just don't think twice when you get in your car and you connect your phone and you get the traffic announcement that tells you there's traffic coming up and all that sort of stuff. When you start to get into the nuts and bolts of the skills that go into developing that, it's really crazy. And I think for us, there's going to be a mindset shift again. So previously what we would normally do is that we would buy in software through VW Group, where we would have sort of a small amount of customization, so we can customize how it looks and feels for the customer. So that requires sort of a small amount of software development skill and capability. But with new products, that we're going to have more control over what that software does, more control over how it looks, feels, the functionality it has. That's where, we can use software as part of our luxury offering, as well as some of the traditional things we might think of. So that means we're going from a small amount of software management capabilities to a huge amount of capability that we need. And then that's before we even start thinking about the crazy stuff around how do we keep our customers safe. So every single market that we sell a Bentley in has different cybersecurity standards. Some countries have different Wi-Fi frequencies that they use. It's the laundry list of things that we have to think about to make the car work in everywhere that we sell it, to keep our customers safe everywhere, to make sure that we're compliant with legislation. It's a real huge, it's much, much, much bigger than I thought it was. And it's going to be really exciting helping the business shift their mindset towards seeing that piece of software that sits in that car as part of our luxury offering.
And I think you talked about people being at the heart of this, the Beyond Plus strategy, but bringing those minds together. You've talked about, the amount of people in the organisation with PhDs, but you need people of all walks of life and specialisms, don't you, to be able to come together to help shift, because this is bold change, isn't it? This is big, bold, audacious goals. It's exciting, but how do you kind of bring those teams together and enable them to kind of go, right, you know what, this is exciting?
Yeah, I think it's such a good question. And I think there are things that we do deliberately internally, and there are things that we are thinking about externally as well. So from an internal point of view, I think it's helping connect people back to that tradition, what Bentleys are at their absolute heart. I think that's such a unifying force for our teams, because despite the fact that the product will change a lot, fundamentally its heart, it will still be a Bentley. It will still need that phrase, a good car, a fast car, the best in its class. That will always stay the same for Bentley, and it can be such a unifying force to bring people together. I think from an external point of view, we are doing a lot of work with our communities around Crew as well. So helping, so we sponsor Crew UTC, which I'm fortunate enough to sit on the board with as well. So working with schools and universities around helping them understand what skills they need to create in young people. So by the time they're ready to apply to university or apply to an apprenticeship, they've got the core fundamental skills that we need. So really, it's about how do we connect our staff to our purpose and that Beyond 100 Plus strategy, but also how do we help the community understand what it is we're trying to achieve and try and get them into a place where they can take advantage of that opportunity.
And I think that's really clear to see. It's an internal focus, it's an external focus, and the people being the bridge between the two. It's really exciting. What's been the biggest lesson in your career, Aimee? How long we got?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think one that's really stood out for me. My old boss. I think I was quite early on in my career, and I was really wanting to do more, push more. And he was asking me, what do you stand for? What are you known for? And like the question completely floundered me. I was like, oh, I don't know what's that one thing that I'm known for? And his recommendation was work out what you want that to be, and then really push it and make that your kind of brand. And I think once I actually reflected on it and thought about what's really important to me, and then pushing that, and then that being what I'm known for, that was a really amazing lesson. It's something that stuck with me. And what I wanted to take away from it was what I really enjoy doing is simplifying complexity. And that's, for me, a really important thing to do, especially in, I think, strategy kind of roles where it can get really detailed, really confusing. Being able to bring people with you on a journey just by telling a really simple story about why something's important. For me, that was like a good lesson, that I looked at what he was known for and I thought, I want to be like that as well. And yeah, that was a really great question that I found difficult at the time, but it really forced me to think introspectively about what was important. So yeah, I would recommend that everyone thinks about what's that one thing that you want to be known for, and then really making that what your strength is and being known for it.
It's a bit, you talk about the Bentley, it's a good car. It's a
fast
car. It's the best in class.
That's it.
Yeah, it's having your own. It's living with the brand, isn't
your
it?
purpose.
It's living. Absolutely. And I know we talked about sustainability and skills. What is your driver every day to keep pushing for?
I think for me, it fundamentally comes back to that connection, back to the purpose and Beyond 100 Plus. It's when you go through the strategy and you really understand the direction that we're going from a skills point of view. The exciting thing for me is when that first electric car rolls off the production line, we'll know that we'd have done part of our job for that transformation because the right skills are in place to deliver that product and bring it to market. And then there'll be the first time that, I'm out somewhere and I see it on the road, and then there's that constant reminder, oh yeah, that's why we've spent all of that time before that working hard. And I think for me, that's what's driving me along. It's that first time we see those electric products on the market.
What do you think your mantra would be? Simplifying complexity. What's the one thing that you would live by?
I think mine is always it's about self-awareness. I think I had a few years ago worked for a company that had a really very, very strong culture. And unfortunately it meant it was a culture that was so strong, it meant that a lot of people began mimicking each other's behaviors because there was definitely the perception, this is the way things are done here and this is how we want to do it. Never quite felt comfortable with doing that just because it didn't really feel authentically me, and then made a really conscious decision to sit down and really think about, okay, so if that doesn't feel comfortable, what does feel comfortable? And I think for me, in terms of how I ground myself constantly, it's always reminding myself, is what you're doing true to yourself and true to who you want to be and how you want to behave? And if it's not, then ask questions. How do you change it? What needs to change? Do you need to ask questions? Do you need to, delegate more? It's such a helpful thing. And I think, and funny enough, I think it's something that men aren't always great at doing, is being a bit introspective and acknowledging the things that you like, the things you don't like, but also your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities as well. So yeah, I think it's a really powerful tool to help drive your career along.
And I think the point of asking questions is so important. That really lands with me. I think someone said to me, always ask a question, because I think if you want to ask the question, somebody else in the room wants to ask the question, but they just don't feel brave enough. And I think asking questions and doing it in a constructive way, it just opens up so much more discussion. I think it's a really important skill set not to be afraid to ask the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just that taking a big breath and going, actually, yeah, you're right. Someone else wanted that question
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
We know Bentley is this iconic car brand. Good car, fast car, best in class. That's now my T-shirt moment. I'm and it is shaping the future of community, the planet. We talk about the work that's done in the community, there's work in the schools, etc. But what kind of impact do you want to leave both within Bentley and as a legacy, both in and out the organisation?
I think in my role, I've got a unique opportunity to help Bentley leave a positive impact on the environment, on people, on overall stakeholders. I think we're doing lots from an environment perspective, like we've already spoken about, what we're doing with the product to try and really make it sustainable. Because if we're being honest, we are operating in an industry that's not very sustainable. So I feel like we really do have a responsibility to change that. And when we are producing the cars, we are enabling them to be on the road forever because they are a more sustainable version of what they are today. So that's a really important thing for me as a driver. I think from a people perspective, bringing everyone on the journey with us. So electrification, sustainability, software, all the new skills that we need for the future, bringing the whole company on the journey with us. And then with our stakeholders as well, from a Bentley perspective, we do loads with such different types of stakeholders. So you might have seen the Environmental Foundation that was set up. It's managed by a communications team. Do some really cool projects there where we invest in projects that help the environment. So the Rivers Trust is a local one where quality of water wasn't that great, but we've kind of donated money to support that being improved and then building the capability so it can be looked after. Doing projects in Kenya with a company or charity called Sustainable Surf. It's all about getting trees planted around that area. So we can have a lot of positive impacts. We have a lot of influence. And I think from my perspective, I really want to help us achieve those changes and those outcomes. Like I'm very outcome focused as a person. Like I like results. So when I can see that there's a benefit, I really want to go after it. And I think that's the kind of legacy that I want to leave behind, is that I help Bentley achieve these positive outcomes. Because you always get lots of negative connotations sometimes with car companies, but I think you can do things differently. So yeah, I think I've got a unique opportunity to try and help that.
But it's about everyone. What would you say your legacy?
I think I've always been a people-focused person. I think everything that I've done in my career has been about helping and supporting people. And I think really where the value is for me is about the people. I think on a large scale, there'll be a great deal of satisfaction seeing that first car, as I said, roll off the production line. But the thing that will trigger in my mind is the people stories that go into that. So, you know, the amount of training outcomes we've been able to deliver, the engagement and the difference it's made to people's careers, the opportunity we've been able to create for the community, and seeing those people move and grow through those jobs and move into different roles, into different disciplines. I think it's those people's journey, I think, that will be the real satisfaction for me.
And if you could give one piece of advice to leaders out there who are driving change in their industry, what would it be?
I mean, it might come across obvious, but I think being really clear about your vision. So where do you want to get to? And you being like super clear on that in your head. And then you bring people together to deliver that vision. Like for me, it's been really clear about why I'm doing something, which comes back to my simplifying complexity. Because once you're really clear on your why at the very beginning, people are already bought into it. And then the journey becomes a lot easier. I think you have to get, your coalition of sponsors, people that really support you. And then your role in it is to kind of structure how we're going to deliver this change. So you need to be clear about your approach, getting the sponsors, unblocking obstacles that are in your way and getting those quick wins and showing why it's the right thing to do, basically.
And Harry, for people emerging talent, what would you say to them who wants to be part of a sustainable future in the automotive industry?
I think it does help having a clear vision for what you want to do. I think it really does help. I think on the one hand, I think if you're passionate about the automotive industry, do your research, spend the time, understand where those opportunities are, and really strive towards that goal. I always think the really interesting thing for graduates and for apprentices, and when we do outreach projects, I talk about this quite a lot. Fundamentally, when you're at that part of your career, your CVs look the same because you've all been to school, you've done largely the same subjects, and you've studied for an amount of time. So you need to be able to demonstrate why you need to be able to demonstrate why why you're different to everyone else. And I think part of that is just demonstrating your passion. If you're passionate about something, just show it, and don't be afraid to show it either. And people are interested, and I think it doesn't necessarily have to be just things like work experience. For the automotive sector, it can be, who you follow, your connection to motor racing. It can be, do you go to Goodwood Festival of Speed? Do you, whatever it might be, there are so many different ways you can connect to the industry, but also don't be afraid that actually, if you're not quite sure where you want to go, always follow what you feel like you're good at and what you're strong at. Don't make a decision that you think is the right decision based on what you think you might want to do. Make a decision according to what you're passionate about and what you love. So I studied international relations and politics at university because I really enjoyed it. I loved it as a subject. There wasn't really a career at that time at 18 that was speaking to me as something I really wanted to do. So I decided I'd do something that really interested me. And it was a great decision, because if you love something, it's never the wrong decision. It's never bad to spend more time on that passion.
And I think this comes back to my takeaway from today's conversation as well, is that everyone's an individual. The beyond in a plus is around people, but it's taking that time to find you and your purpose and taking that self-awareness reflection time Everyone needs to do that, whether they've got the PhDs, whether they're at the start of their career, but they take that time to do you and find something you love, which you clearly do. And every time I go over to the Crew, to Crew HQ, you just see it. You see it coming through the vehicles. You see it coming through just the experience that shines out. So thank you, Harry and Aimee, so much for joining me here in We Are Power Podcast today. And I'm looking forward to getting behind the wheel one day, one day, Harry.
We'll make it happen.
Thanks so much for joining
You're
me.
so welcome.
Thank you very much.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are Power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And We Are _Power on YouTube.